Let me hold your hand while I ask you this question. And I ask it lovingly. If you're no contact with your parents, what is it that is keeping you from having a relationship with them?
Okay, to all of you watching this video, please respond to this question in the comment section. Wow, there are so many things that keep me from having a relationship with my mother, and they all start with her. I've been no contact for the better part of 30 years. And I say the better part because about 17 years in, she showed up at my doorstep. And we had a blip in there where I was willing to not only have a relationship with her, I wanted a relationship with her. And I told her very specifically, well, let me back up a little bit. Our estrangement occurred because she was triangulating my children who were really young 30 years ago. I was 17 when I had my eldest daughter, and then in my early 20s when I had my son. My youngest daughter, my mother has only met once, and she was old enough to know what my mother was all about, and it was at a family event. And I do that because they're not my family. They're just people I'm connected to through DNA. So my eldest was 5-6 years old, and she was my mother's chosen golden child, and my son was the non-existent child. And the disparity in treatment was really damaging, and I was constantly addressing it with my mother, like, I don't understand how you can not like a child. However, I do understand that you can choose to treat them equally, not the same, 2 different ages, 2 different genders, all the things, whatever, equally and well and kindly. And, she would walk past my son and not even look at him at times. And my daughter was like being paraded around, and just all the gushing around her and all the things, to a point where it was uncomfortable. There was also the way she treated me in front of my children, the way that she questioned me, she criticized me, she sneered at me, she smirked at me. And I started to realize that my children, particularly my daughter, who was older, was noticing. So there were lots of conversations around boundaries, the hoops that you make them jump through, because these estranged parents who are going to stay estranged like to call them the hoops that they jump through. And I don't think it's particularly difficult when you say to the grandparent of your child, please don't expose her to R-rated movies, to follow that boundary. I don't see that as being a hoop. And the way that I found out that she was exposing my daughter to particular movies, Poltergeist being one of them, was because my little 5-year-old woke up having a nightmare and outed her grandmother, and also felt really bad about telling on her grandmother because her grandmother told her to keep it a secret. It was special between them. That was another reason. And also, I come from the family of secrets that included molestation from my grandparents, and included also alcoholism, my grandmother. So there's lots of moving pieces in there. Eventually, it got to the point, and the movie was really the turning point, where I was like, this is not going to happen anymore. So I went no contact out of protection for my children, because I didn't know that I deserved protection from my mother. It should have been good enough, and I'm not living in regret, and I don't feel like I did it wrong or anything like that. I feel actually sad for 22, 23-year-old me that I didn't think that I deserved any better, because it should have been good enough for me to go no contact because of the way that she was treating me. She was smear campaigning me. She was trying to get my boyfriend at the time, who I ended up married to, who I'm divorced from, but we had a long run. We had like 15 years together, and we still have a good relationship. She was trying to get him to abandon me by smear campaigning me as like basically, I don't like the word, it's like a tramp, but it begins with the W. And I do this because also YouTube sometimes doesn't like certain words. You get what I'm saying. She was trying to make it seem like it took a zillion guys to get me pregnant at 17 years old, that I was a belligerent child who was constantly running away and that I was always the problem. And what she didn't bargain for was his degree in psychology and just the fact that he had common sense on top of that and enough wherewithal to say to her, well, for a 13-year-old to keep running away from home and actually find more comfort on the streets, it says something a lot, it says a lot about what must have been going on in your home. So that was our first estrangement. And then the second one, 17 years in, my eldest daughter had fond memories of my mother, even fonder memories of my grandmother. She had a relationship with them. I knew it. It wasn't behind my back. There was a point where she didn't tell me. It still wasn't behind my back. It wasn't something she was doing to me. It's just she didn't know how to tell me that she was in a relationship with them. And eventually she did. And I was like, look, we just need some boundaries around that. I know, shocking. Boundaries and respect and having that in place with your adult child. Oh my gosh. Anyway, the boundaries pretty much were, please don't share my life with my mother or anybody on that side of the family. Anything that I'm doing, going through, enjoying, living, whatever is none of their business. I don't speak to them for good reason. My daughter had some information around why that relationship didn't exist. Not as much as she has now that she's, in later adulthood. Also, she helped me edit my book. So she really got the details eventually. She estranged from my mother, I don't even know how many years ago. My mother bit her a few times because that's what they do. And so I just kind of leaned back and trusted my eldest daughter to make good decisions, and I know who I raised. And eventually she figured out what she needed to do for herself. If my mother hadn't bitten and she chose to still be in a relationship, that would have been okay with me too, because it's not my decision. As my eldest daughter, the other boundary was I don't want to know anything about their lives. I'm not interested. I didn't want to learn things that might hurt me, that might make me feel any kind of way. I didn't want to know if they were talking about me. At that time, those things still live somewhere for me. This is 17. No, it's actually longer. It's like 19 years ago now. So that was in place. My eldest daughter also knew, because I told her, that if she ever needed to talk about any questions she had or anything in relation to them, not, gossip, newsworthy, news unworthy kind of stuff, but rather, if a concern came up, I'm going to support my daughter. So that's how it rolled out, and it was fine. My daughter was pregnant, and my mother wanted to be at the hospital when she gave birth. And so my mother showed up on my doorstep because my daughter was like, well, if it's not okay with my mom, it's not happening. Which I didn't know at the time, but I came to know that afterwards. So she shows up on my doorstep, and now that was a whole story in and of itself. I talk about it in other videos. Now we're at the hospital together. I meet her current husband. Fun fact, every single man my mother married, with the exception of one that I did not meet. So she's been married or in a domestic partnership 6 times. The last one was a domestic partner. I met them all after she married them, even when I was living with her as a child. And actually, when I wasn't living with her and I lived with my grandparents, she showed up with one of my new stepdaddies. 4 of the 6 died while living with her, 1 of cancer. But I let her hold my hand and respond to why I don't have a relationship or what keeps me from having a relationship with my mother. Again, she keeps me from having a relationship with her because of who she is. So at the hospital, this new stepfather, he finds a moment to have a very brief conversation with me. And he had been watching me throughout. And I thought, oh God, gosh knows what he knows about me, the smear campaigns. And I'm still kind of like reeling that I'm going through this experience with my mother, and I'm now a grandmother, and I'm being really aware of doing everything to focus on my daughter and have nothing happen that would in any way create a bad memory about around this beautiful experience that she was having. So as I'd be on my best behavior anyway, and it's not hard. I'm kind. I love my daughter. There's no strife. We don't ruin events, none of the things, right? But my mother was there. So I had to be more aware of just being kind of chill and not, allow my mother to get under my skin. And I have to say my mother was actually behaving kind of well. And I think the reason was because she was trying to prove me wrong in front of my son-in-law's eyes. I think she was trying to make it like, I'm the problem. And so there were other moving pieces in there. Anyway, my new stepfather, did come up to me and he said, I just want you to know, I know it wasn't you when you were a little girl. I want you to know that if I knew then what I know now about your mother, I would have never married her. And I was stunned. And I can't tell you how much that meant to me. Like, it was just the craziest thing. And unfortunately, I never got to have a further conversation with him, and he's dead now. So it would have been nice to be able to find out what he meant by that. But my mother back in the scene, and there was just no space, and she was like right on it. So she must have known that he was bonding with me in that moment. As time went on, I have another grandson. I see my mother here and there in passing around the children and things like that. And at one point she used the magic words, which she very rarely said throughout my entire childhood. I love you. I miss you. She embraced me. I was like, and then I was leaning into it because I wanted my mommy. So this is the mommy who dropped me out of a 2-story window when I was around 5 or 6 years old, trying to unalive me. This is the mommy who knew that I was being emmed. I already said molested in this video, not just by my grandparents, but also by a pool lifeguard that she kept sending me down to and told me I was damaged goods in a tramp when I was 9 years old. This is the mother who told me when I was running away from home that they're just going to stop looking for me. Nobody cares. And actually they're better off without me, that when I'm gone, it's good. Like life is good. And this is a mother that threw rages and destroyed my room, my closet, and did the mommy dearest thing. This is the mother who would write me postcards at summer camp for everybody to read while she was smear campaigning me in the postcard. And the list goes on and on and on and on. Like there's a million different things each and every day that my mother did to me that violated me and put me in a position of constantly living in fear of her. I have complex PTSD because of this mother. But hey, what keeps me from being in a relationship with her? Anyway, she did the I love you, I miss you, blah, 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 and asked me if I wanted to be in a relationship. Yes. I said yes. This was 19 years ago. So we were living in Orlando. She was living in Miami at the time. And when she went back to Miami, I really thought about it. And it was like, this could be really good. I had nostalgic amnesia, I call it. I was like, I can at least have a surface relationship with her and enjoy the things I can enjoy. I'm way post-therapy at this point in my life too. I think that bears mentioning. I had been in therapy in my 20s and really worked on a lot of the things that were creating a situation for me where I didn't want to be alive anymore. Spent a lot of time, not just in one-on-one, but in group therapy. I was on meds. I mean, the whole 9 yards. Anyway, so my mother goes back to Miami and I leave her a voicemail because she doesn't pick up the phone when I called. And that's fine. I don't expect someone jump how high and whatever. It was just interesting to me because I kind of knew my mother's routine. And I remember when I was leaving the voicemail, I was like, is she screaming? What's going on? Kind of thing. And In the voicemail, I said, we never have to talk about the past because I knew that that wasn't going to be allowed. We can just move forward where we are now. And I would love it if when you come down, we could just go and like have a girls' lunch and like, you know, shopping and all the things she loves to do and things that I love to do too, and just have that kind of surface relationship. I know she got that voicemail. She never called me back. It didn't behoove her to be in a relationship with me because she had a narrative built around me. And if we were able to have a decent surface relationship like that, how would she explain having a relationship with the devil? It wasn't something she wanted to work towards. It wasn't something that she wanted to deal with the mature version of me. Because looking back at that, it's like, yes, she owed me accountability, and yes, it would have been nice to heal those wounds, and yes, it would have been good to have her, you know, heal the wounds within the family for me and allow me to be able to have relationships with the people I shared DNA with. Like, a lot of things would have changed in my life because I was alone in the world at that time. She could have been the person that built that bridge. Instead, she blew it up because she liked being the victim of me more than she wanted to be my mother. So what keeps me from having a relationship with her? Aside from her choosing not to have one with me, the fact that I recognize I deserve safe people in my life who have my back, who love me, who care about me, who allow me to be able to have that same feeling towards them and provide them with those same things. I am deserving of relationships that are reciprocal and where the foundation is built on kindness. She's not a safe person. There is nothing I value in her as a human. I don't like her, and she hates me. But wait, there's more. This creator has more videos, so let's play the next one. Please answer this in the comment section.
This is probably going to be an uncomfortable truth for some of you that are estranged from your kids. No matter how much you change, they're always going to show up like you didn't. So all this work we've done, it's for ourselves, not for them. So stop thinking it's you, because it's not.
Well, the work is for you. I'll start with what I agree with here. The work is always for you. The work that you do in therapy to heal the wounds that you brought forward, that is for you. And that should be your primary focus. I don't care whether you're an estranged parent, a low contact parent, a full on contact parent. We should be going to therapy because of what we're recognizing isn't working for us. We should have that self-awareness, and we all deserve to heal. And the more that we heal, the more that we love ourselves, the less we need to control others, and the better we're able to show up in the world, and the stronger our relationships become. I do think that there is truth in when parents start to change their behaviors and mature emotionally, the ones who have the capacity and desire to do so. I do think there's some truth in when your adult child comes back, they're expecting the other shoe to drop. There has been a huge damage of trust there, right? There's been a lot of betrayal. There's been a lot of behaviors that have created a situation where the strongest bond known to humans has been fractured, and that was fractured by the parent. So yeah, I would say that many times when an adult child comes in, the ground is soft, you know, there's trepidation in there, and there's concern, and there's a feeling of, I need to survive in this relationship and be safe in this relationship. And so it's also raw. And a parent who's working on no longer treating their child like a child in adulthood, because that's a big part of it, is probably going to have some slips and things in there, and those slips aren't going to look like little things. They're going to look very, very big because they're going to feel big. And I think that's where we need to recognize that it is a process. And if that parent is trying, not repeating the behaviors, taking accountability and apologizing without excuse, without justification, and saying, listen, I know I did the thing, and bringing it into the room without the adult child having to bring it into the room, that's progress right there. And as long as the progress continues to build and those moments of slips are fewer and further between, that relationship is going to turn around and it's going to become a strong one. And I can say that because I was an estranged parent over 20 years ago, and I had to do the things, or I chose to do the things, all of that. Chose to, whatever it is. And I know that there's been some times over the years where my daughters had to, kind of reaffirm a boundary, or where I've caught myself and gone, oh my goodness. And I've called her and gone, I'm so sorry I spoke to you that way. I recognize that I was being harsh in that moment, or whatever it was. And we will immediately have a conversation over it, and she appreciates that recognition. I don't remember the last time that had happened. It has happened though, where I've had a moment where I lost my mind, or I lost my thoughtfulness in that moment, in the way that my daughter receives information. It's not the same as my other kids do. So I have one child that I can go bam, bam, bam and be I'm not a blunt person, but I don't have to think so much about how that child's going to receive it because their personality is just different. Whereas my eldest daughter, and I think that's because I wounded her. I think that the reason she has some different ways of receiving information is because I was a 17-year-old immature and emotionally immature mother when I had her. And I think that I created some things in her that she's a little bit more raw in that way. I don't want to say sensitive. I want to say like there's just a layer of skin that isn't there, and it doesn't need to be there. I, as her mom who loves her beyond like anything I can describe, can show up in a way, and this is not eggshells, and these kinds of parents will define this as eggshells, that is more sensitive to who she is and how she receives information. Just like our children don't get the same parent, if you have more than one child, you were not the same parent with each and every one of your children, because developmentally, hopefully we're growing and maturing over the years, because maybe gender, because of the age that you are with one child as opposed to the other. I mean, I have a 9-year gap between my oldest and my youngest. Of course, they got a different parent, different financial situation at the time with the youngest as opposed to the oldest, lots of different things. The one thing though, I will say when we say our children received a different parent is that if you are a loving, kind human being, all of your children receive that. So that is one of the consistencies that should exist based on your character and who you are as a human, right? So when we are looking at like golden children and scapegoat children, those children get a different parent because that parent is triangulating, and that's by design for them to have ultimate control. In some ways, they're also getting the same parent because at their baseline, they aren't kind, they aren't compassionate, they aren't caring, they aren't the things that fill their children's cups with love, even though they got different treatment in terms of the one-on-one relationship between each one of them, right? So anyway, all of my kids are different. They receive information differently, they look for advice differently, they ask questions differently because they are different human beings. And as their mom, I believe that it is my job to recognize those differences and respect them. So anyway, this is one of those estranged mothers who believe that withholding the grandchildren, I mean, it's your behavior that creates you are not having a relationship with your grandchildren. If you don't choose to show up with respect and kindness, there's the word again, and being a healthy, good role model and showing them that love is not manipulation, triangulation, weaponization of people's wounds and boundaries and things like that, then you have chosen not to have access to your grandchild. The fact that we drew the line based on your behavior isn't because we've chosen that. It's because we're protecting our children, and that's our job as parents. If you choose to be someone they need protection from, that's on you. She's one of those that's like, one day they're going to grow up and know that you weren't protecting them. You were using them as weapons against us to punish us. And the reason she feels that way is because she's the type of parent that weaponizes people. So anyway, what do you think? Answer her original question. I don't think anyone needs to hold our hands. I'm holding my own. I'm happy to hold yours though. This is a safe space for all, so be respectful and kind in the comments. And I'm really interested to see what your take is and what your experience is, because we're all healing together. So anyway, she is special. Side note, I have another level of membership. So if you're subscribed here, all that's free. You get all the content, all the good stuff. I also now, thanks to YouTube, have a level of membership where we can connect a little bit closer in terms of healing tips, me answering questions that are more directed at what you're looking for. I do that on the general channel as well. However, doing it in the membership forum, because it is a little smaller, a little bit more intimate, I'm creating content that is more related to healing in a direct way for those of us who have grown up under narcissistic family systems and narcissistic abuse. So on the video, when you notice the little join button, it's like $4 a month or something. It's like I'm keeping things very accessible because I do want to be available as much as I can. So anyway, if you want some deeper healing tips and you want some more one-on-one interaction with me, hit the join button and make your selection. And either way, I'll see you either here or there or both.